This is the Ruger Precision. Specifically, this is the 22LR version of the Ruger Precision. It is a bolt-action, modern-styled rifle. Now, this gun has been on the market for a fairly long time, but it's one that I just really always wanted to try. It's a really cool-looking gun that is under $1,000, and it shoots 22, which is a pretty fun round to shoot. So, I want to give it a try. Very briefly, if you haven't seen one of these things before, essentially, this is a scaled-down version of Ruger's other bolt-action rifles, and it has many of the modern bolt-action type features. The controls are AR style. It is a 45-degree AR throw lever, forward for safe, up for fire, and it is a very light throw lever, excellent low safety. It takes AR pistol grips and ones that use AR beaver tails, which is excellent, and the grip itself is very comfortable. It's basically a clone of a Magpul MOE, just different texturing. And the only thing I can say is I kind of wish it was a bit thicker, just so that you can have a grip such as this with a thumb rest, because I found myself wanting to do that quite often, but of course it's an AR grip, so you can change it out to whatever you want. We've got a two-way adjustable stock. Flip this so that it's moving up, like so, and you can move the cheek rest up or down. You can move the stock back or forward. You also have some pick rail on the bottom of the stock, so if you want to put a monopod at the back, you can do that. You have an M-LOK handguard at the 12, 6, 3, and 9 positions, with some extra ventilated cooling otherwise. And at the very front, you have some M-LOK slots along the entire handguard. You also have a threaded barrel. This is 1/28. The muzzle device I used on this was just a simple 1/28. And a quick note for those of you that can't get suppressors and would like to run a reverse style suppressor, essentially a barrel sleeve, there is not enough room between this handguard and the barrel for you to do that, so don't bother trying. The trigger has a tiny little safety on it and a bit of a trigger shoe. It is a very light, crisp break, and it is an adjustable trigger. All you have to do is remove this panel on the back here, and as you can see, there is a little tiny Allen key that you can stick into the trigger pack and adjust. I'll put the pull weights of the adjustment on screen, and you can set it to whatever you like. The rifle uses standard Ruger 10/22 pattern magazines. Now in Canada, we have to use the standard 10-round magazines because of our stupid laws, but the best way for you to run this would ideally be Ruger BX magazines. The second best way to run this would be to have the base plates that are stacked one on top of each other, so you could just drop it, flip it, and put it back in. To remove the bolt, you just press in on this little depressed bit here, pull back, and you've removed your bolt. So with all of that out of the way, what is the point of this rifle? You can buy 22LR bolt-action rifles that are like a third or even a quarter the price of one of these. So why would you buy one of these? Well, I think there's two main reasons you would buy one of these. Number one, because it looks cool. Because guns are cool, and this one looks really cool, and it's relatively affordable, so why not? Number two is you would be using this as a training base for a rifle that is much more expensive than this, that shoots much more expensive ammo, which is what this was originally designed for, I presume, because of its similarities between this and the bigger Ruger Precision. Now, what do I mean by that? Obviously, you're not stretching 22LR out to a kilometer, but the fundamentals of learning the drops are identical, right? Obviously, the values aren't the same, but the fundamentals of practicing, keeping your rifle steady, aiming, and learning how to adjust your drops, those fundamentals are the same. So, if you want to go out and shoot, say, 100 rounds of .308, that's going to cost you $100 at $1 a round, which is pretty generous for the Canadian market. It's more than that in Canada, but it would cost you $100. If you want to go out and shoot 100 rounds of 22LR, it's going to cost you $16 if you use like mid-grade ammo, at most 25 if you use some really high-end ammo. That is far more stomachable for someone who just wants to train and practice with the rifle. Now, what this rifle is not for is hunting. This rifle is just not practical for taking out to hunt. Of course, like I say with any rifle that I say this about, it can be used to hunt because it is a functional firearm, but the weight of it is not ideal. You could pick up something much lighter, especially in semi-auto, and have a way better time on your hunt. What this could be used for, if you want to add an extra justification of why you could buy it, is some property use case. If you just want to set it up on the back of your property and you can legally shoot on your property and you want to take care of some varmin, then sure, go for it. But again, that's not its primary use case. It's not really what it should be used for. Now, in terms of accuracy, I was very surprised with one specific kind of ammo. There are accuracy tests all over the internet about this thing because it's been out so long. If you want a full, comprehensive accuracy analysis, go watch a bunch of different reviews of this thing, skip to the accuracy part, and you will be able to understand what ammo is best with it and what's not. I'm just giving my experience as someone who is relatively new to bolt actions in comparison to semi-autos and handguns. I tested 5 different ammo types through this thing for accuracy, and I can very comfortably say the 38s are wildly not good. They're not terrible, but I would not use the 38 grain in this. The 40 grain, I had a whole bunch of different 40 grain stuff. CCI, standard velocity, higher velocity. Aguila, not the really fast, I can't remember the name that Aguila uses, but not the hyper velocity stuff, just the one right below that. And I also used some Federal Automatch. Of all of the ammos that I tested, very surprisingly was the Federal Automatch. Sadly, I wasn't able to test it at 50 meters, which is where you should probably judge the accuracy of these things, because I didn't have it at the time. I only tested it at 100 meters, which is where I tested the others, but not the Aguila. So the Aguila was only tested at 50, the Federal Automatch was only tested at 100, all the others were tested at both. But at 100 meters, and I'm going to put up a picture on screen, this was the group that I was able to get. For a 22 LR rifle at 100 meters, that is pretty damn impressive. I was very surprised with the results, and when you compare it to any of the other ammos, which I will put up on screen with their names, I was blown away at how accurate it was in comparison to the others. But that comes with the caveat that the others were still very usable. I could still hit at least definitely a 6-inch steel gong, and I could hit a 4-inch steel gong at 100 meters with all of the other ammo types. If you're pushing it out past to 200, you're probably going to want to go with the most accurate one. For me, that was Federal Automatch, but again, you might want to go look up a swath of other reviews to find the most accurate ammo for this. Now, in terms of the 50 meter accuracy, they were all perfectly acceptable. I would use any of the ammo at 50 meters if you were just wanting to plink around. It really doesn't matter very much, but it was still pretty good nonetheless. Now, I will just do a quick mention of the scope that was on this thing. It was just a really cheap, 70 Canadian dollar scope from Amazon that was 6 to 24 power with a very simple crosshair, and it actually was pretty damn good. I used it on both this and on the Hera H6 video from last week. Shockingly decent. It's not going to blow you away because it's so cheap. I mean, set your expectations low, but surprisingly decent. So if you wanted to put that on this thing and keep the budget even lower, I'd say go for it. If you want a full review on that thing, I believe Epic Arms did a video on it a while back. I'll put the name up on screen. You can go search up for that scope. One final note that I will make about this is that the bolt has a slight break-in period, but not a break-in range period. When you first take it out of the box brand new, The bolt is a little bit stiffer. So, of course, like most bolt actions, you're going to want to oil it up, clean it, make sure everything works smoothly, but you're going to want to run the bolt a few times. And I mean just like this, just over and over and over and over. Just keep doing that until it starts to wear in a bit, and it will be so much smoother to use on the range. And after all that, this is the final review of 2024. 2024 did not end the way that we wanted it to end, not even close. If you're curious about the gun bans that happened on December 5th, I made 2 videos on them. One of them went over what was banned and if they will be overturned in the future, what's going on with that. And the other one was just a video going over a little bit more of what was banned, but more specifically what was going to come out in 2025 that we will now no longer get, as well as what's left on the Canadian market and what's going on with potential magazine changes. So if you're interested in any of those, you can check out those videos if you haven't already. I will have one final video coming out for the end of the year, and that will be my top 5 list this year of guns that I have reviewed. Not guns that have come out, just guns that I have personally reviewed. Look out for that sometime in the last week and a half-ish of December. Going into 2025, I have a whole bunch of different reviews, so subscribe for all of that. Like this video if you really liked it, and thank you for watching.